We're going to call to order the meeting of the Board of the Port Wardens on Tuesday, October 25th, 2022. It'll be called to order at 7:02 p.m. First thing we'll do is roll call, and we have the other Port Wardens, Scott Anderson, Harold Siegel, and Jean Godley with us today. Also the staff, we have Carrie and Kimberly and Kevin from the city. Madeline is doing the video, so that's good. Thank you guys very much. We're going to move to approval of the agenda, but we're going to have a very quick motion. I need, I guess, someone else to make it, to amend the agenda.
I move we amend the agenda to include an election for a vice chairman.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. I guess discussion. I believe Scott Anderson has put his name in the hat and volunteered to be vice chair. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, I assume that the previous motion was passed, and therefore I would like to nominate Scott Anderson as the vice chair.
Okay.
Second.
Great. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Scott.
Thank you.
All right. Then now we'll move to actually approve the agenda as amended. Can I entertain a motion to approve the agenda?
Move its approval.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay. Any opposed? No? All right. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
You have to have everyone you have to say all those in favor, or have everyone say aye.
Oh, gotcha.
Aye.
You went straight to opposed.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. All right. So we have Scott is an aye or yes. Harold is an aye and Jean is an aye. Thank you. All right. Agenda. I'm sorry. Administrative. All right. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the September 27th, 2022 meeting. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the September 27th, 2022.
I move their approval.
I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor state aye.
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 All right. There are no no's, so we have all and Scott, Harold, and Jean saying aye. All right. That motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the finding of facts. We are going to break that thing that we had consolidated so that we have each port number individually listed. So bear with me on this. Next item on the agenda is findings of fact from September 27, 2022. Starting with port 2022-013, which is 705 Warren Drive. Is there any motion to approve the written findings of fact, and is there a second?
I'll make a motion to approve the findings of fact.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have all port wardens saying aye.
Mr. Chairman, I abstained on that since I abstained from the vote.
Okay, all right, and we're going to be doing this with all the ones that relate to
Right.
Southgate we'll get to, but all right, so all in favor of motion approved written findings in fact on port 2022-013, which is 705 Warren Drive. That's repeated in my element, but it's the same case number. So let's move down. I apologize. Let's move down to next up is port 2022-14, which is the beginning of those Southgate projects. So which is 9 and 11 Southgate. Is there a motion to approve?
Move its approval.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we had all port wardens in favor of that. The motion passes. Next is port 2022-14 I'm moving, sorry, not quick enough. Let's move to port 22-15, 9 Southgate Avenue. Is there any motion to approve that written finding in effect?
Move approval.
I'll second that motion, removal.
All right, fantastic. All port wardens approve that. The motion passes. Next up is Port 22-016, which is 3 Southgate Avenue. Is there a motion to approve written findings of fact? And is there a second?
Move approval.
I'll second that.
Okay, all right, we'll move, motion passes. Thank you. All
You
right,
have to,
um,
Robert, just real quickly, you have to make sure you say all those in favor and take a
all
vote on
those
it.
in favor, sorry, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. All port wardens were aye. Okay. The secondary, we got that done. All right, so next up is Port 2022-017-5 and 9 Southgate, again, part of that combo we did. Is there a motion to approve the written findings of fact? And is
So
there a
moved.
second? All right, is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right, the motion passes, all the port wardens voted aye. The next is Port 2022-702 Warren Drive. Is there a motion to approve the written findings of fact? And is there a second?
Move approval.
All right.
I'll second that.
All right, Scott, second that. Thank you. Are all in favor of the motion to approve the written findings of fact report 2020
Aye.
Aye.
1872 Warren Drive? Say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
all port wardens, thank you very much. Now let's move to, now this is the separate, starting with Port 2022-020-222 Severn Avenue. Is there a motion to approve the written findings of fact? And is there a second?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, fantastic. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you very much. All port wardens voted aye on that one. Thank you. And then starting with Port 2022-021, which was 7055 Bayfront Drive. Is there a motion to approve the written findings of fact? And is there a second?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, fantastic. That motion passes. Thank you very much. The Port 2022-101 Spa View Avenue. Is there a motion to approve the written findings of fact? And is there a second?
Motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. I am supposed to allow for discussion, but I assume there is none. So let's, all in favor of Port 2022-22 101 Spa View Avenue, state, please say aye.
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 All right, all port wardens are in favor of that one. All right, and now we have no old business, and now we move to new business. All right, and the first, we're going to slow it down a bit, just to make sure we're good here. So the next item on the agenda, new business, is Port 2021-023, which is the Council of Co-Owners of Newport Condominium Association, Burnside Street. And I think we need to wait for the TV tech to bring in William Larish and Dan Larry. If you can bring them in.
I already sent the prompts.
Okay.
And there's actually a bunch of other representatives of Newport and
Okay.
the member of the public.
Okay, let's bring anyone involved with the Newport Condo Association. Okay, can we have anyone involved with the Newport show your video screen? Because we're going to do a very quick swear in.
Madeline, Brett Anderson, is for
I-
the public on this one.
Yep, I sent it. He should be coming in any second now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
welcome.
Don't ask me.
Darren's all ready. Do we have anyone else who's going to be speaking for Newport?
I am.
Okay, that you're the only one. Okay, great.
Also, there's Brett Anderson, the adjacent property owner.
Okay, Brett, can you show your screen? Can you hear me, Brett?
Yes.
Okay. Can you turn your camera on?
I'm working on it right now.
Okay, no worries. All right, you're sharing your screen now. Brett, can you unshare your screen?
Yes, I'm working on that right now.
All right.
Okay.
All right. All right, anyone planning on testifying, your video is showing, please raise your right hand. All right, and you do solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give to the Port Wardens is the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes,
I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay, great. All parties said I do. Okay, as a preliminary, the board will accept into record the application packet, staff report and planning, of planning and zoning, and any public comments. Kevin, are there any existing public comments?
We received today, sent over from Alan Hyatt on behalf of SAYC, who Brett Anderson is here, who represents, a letter asking the board to postpone this hearing so they could discuss with the Newport, further about their project. But I assume Brett will give more details on that.
Sure. For the record, I'm Brett Anderson. I'm the adjacent property owner, which is known as Pyramid Maritime 1, Pyramid Maritime 2, State Street Holding, and South Annapolis Yacht Center. I'm making a request tonight for postponement of the hearing. Essentially, there's not been adequate time to resolve conflicts between the proposed plan and us as the adjacent property owner. There was a letter dated October 13th, which was sent out. That was a Thursday. We actually received that letter on Tuesday, the 18th, which basically is 5 working days. And we've reached out to the council that's representing Newport as well as the contractor. And they've stated that they'd like to move forward with the hearing. But we have a number of serious problems with the plan that's proposed, and think that it would be in everybody's interest to take a little time and try to work through those problems. Right now, we could not go along with the plan as it's proposed.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question I'd like to ask Kevin, which is, this notice was received on the 18th by mail, but was the property posted before then? And what is the requirement for both posting and for mailing?
Yeah, they posted and mail their notices out prior to the deadline to do so. It's 10 days prior. I think they did it like 12 or 13 days prior. And it was advertised in the newspaper on the 7th, the 8th and 7th day. So they met all the code requirements for notice. And so I think a big question here would be is, what does Newport think about the postponement, and are they postponing to a date certain? The next meeting is November 22nd. But I think we need to know exactly when the date would be, or else if it is November 22nd, you wouldn't have to re-advertise. But if it's some indefinite time, we just have to re-advertise the whole case.
Thank you very much. That clarifies it for me. So all the code requirements were met. So this is a matter of sort of a request for courtesy both of the port wardens and the applicant to allow more time?
Well, that's the way that I would describe it, that, and I do agree that clearly the property was posted, but Burnside is not a street that you travel down unless you're headed to Newport or the other condominium. The sign that was posted on the waterfront side is behind sort of kayak storage and is not very visible. So, we've really only had 5 days to look at this plan, and as I say, right away have spotted some problems. So look, I believe it's in Newport's best interest to speak with us and try to work it out. If not, then, obviously it's going to lead to appeals and so forth, which would be a substantially longer period of time. So this is really a courtesy to them to see if there's a resolution that can be found with the plan that they proposed and the concerns that we have with it.
Yes, I'm not sure when I'm supposed to speak, or I'm Gil Gilday. I'm on the board of directors and live here. Yes, we did post all the signs. There's one on the street, there's one on the dock, and we did mail out the material according to code. We received a call late yesterday afternoon saying that SAYC wanted to have a meeting with us at 9 o'clock the following morning. What we did say is that we were not able to speak with our attorney or get enough people because we are a community on the board together to respond to that. We've submitted, I'm not sure what the document is called, but it's from Kevin saying that he approved it, that he didn't see any issues. We have reduced the number of slips from 24 to 16. We are staying within our footprint, and we're putting angled slips out there in order to make navigation safer and easier for our people and Brett's people as well. It will decrease congestion in the waterway. It will increase safety. It will do all the things that we believe the city wanted us to do. And we will be happy to meet with SAYC during the 60 days of what I'm not sure what they call that either, during the 60 days after the port wardens have started to review the material. So we appreciate Mr. Anderson trying to be considerate to us, but we are a small community. This is something that has been dragging on for more than a year and a half, and we've been waiting to try to get Title 15. The city, as we understood it, was working on changing that, which would have made it easier for us. But instead, we realized that that's not going to happen, and we need to get this done. It's costing the community money. We've lost, tens of thousands of dollars because we tell people we're going to work on the docks, and then they don't rent the slips. So, and the fact that the work just has to get done, and prolonging it is just a real negative to a small community, and it's not improving the situation that we have here. So if SAYC would like to meet with us afterwards, after this meeting, and after you have a chance to review the documents, as I said, we have several people that would be happy to meet. What? Oh,
I assume that meant you were opposed to postponement?
I'm opposed to postponement. Yes, we have a bulkhead that needs attention. We have piers that need
I
attention.
just want the conclusion. I'm not
I'm
going to
sorry.
the
Yeah.
merits of the application.
Okay. Yes, sir. We want to press forward, and we'll work with them. While the port wardens are doing their due diligence.
All right, discussion, I guess, Scott, Harold,
Oh.
Gene,
Well, Mr. Chair, if I could, this is Kevin. So I was not sure what the 60-day time frame he's talking about is,
Is
but
it 30? Oh,
well, there's an appeal period, but
It's a
if the port
30-day
wardens goes
proof of
forward,
facts.
once the port wardens reviews it, and if they ultimately approve it or deny it, that's that's what it is. But if you're going to proceed with the hearing, then, it may very well result in a continuance, so they may start reviewing it. And so I think you have the option of voting tonight or continuing and not doing a postponement and just, getting it started. But I think maybe as the hearing transpires, it's probably going to open up a lot of more questions.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
I
Oh, that's, yeah,
They are engineers.
that's what we have Dan Alarian for here, and we'd like to have our attorney, but again, he's unable to attend.
okay.
Yeah, and I don't know whether this is the right time or not, but there's a very relevant opinion that was issued by the Port Wardens when we did our submittal, and it has to do with the angled slips. And SAYC was actually trying to do the same thing on the adjoining property. And it's opinion number 3435. The Port Wardens came to this opinion and concluded this: while angled slips may make ingress and egress easier, the allowance of longer boats moored at angle slips would not improve, but would rather aggravate the navigational safety between SAYC and Newport and channel work. The board therefore is not in favor of altering the existing perpendicular direct 90-degree slips in favor of angled slips or accommodating larger boats in this location. And that's exactly what Newport is proposing to do.
I think we need to just, Gene, go ahead, please.
Well, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I think the process is now open for discussion to the Port Wardens. And having lived through the SAYC application, which took several meetings and there is quite controversial, it is apparent to me that there are some issues here that I think would be preferable if the parties could work some of them out themselves. I don't know what the issues are, but frankly, the fewer that we have to work out in a Zoom hearing, I think the better off everyone is. So I would be open to a 30-day postponement to November the 22nd and not later, to mandate an opinion then, so it wouldn't have to be reauthorized. So I'm just telling you, I would be open to it, but that's my feeling at this point, having gone through the controversies between these parties before.
Yes,
Go ahead.
there is as I understand it, there is no meeting in December. Not if we postpone our
So
meeting.
November the 22nd, I said.
I'm sorry, I understand, but if we do that, then the Port Wardens would require 30 more days or the next meeting before they approved the permit, the findings, excuse me, when they approve the findings. And that puts us into the January meeting, which again is keeping us from being able to get started on a project that's more than almost 2 years old now, and is putting hardship on the community because we're not going to be able to get slip fees again because it's going to take 14 to 16 weeks to get floating docks. Dan has got to get us in the queue for the work. We'll be half a year into this before we actually get started. And I also understand that there's some restrictions due to breeding fish and things like that. And migratory birds. So that could push us off. And we really can't afford. We've been waiting and we've been, working with the city.
Okay, we got a sense of the deadline. Let's have a discussion with the Port Wardens and Harold.
I'm looking at a couple of issues here. One, apparently this has been approved by the city. City has no problems with it. So let's get that.
That's our recommendation. It's not
Right.
that we.
That's the
approved it.
recommendation of the city. Okay. All I have here to go on is a letter that SAYC has given us at the last minute. Nothing else. Everything else you say is doesn't pertain. I just see a letter here. And in the letter, you've done two things. You mentioned safety and you mentioned navigation. Those are great words to use, but you've given us nothing at all about to describe it, safety and navigation. That, as far as I see, those are just words that were thrown out by the attorney because he didn't have anything else to say. The second item you had written down here was something about, well, we gave you courtesy before, so you should give us courtesy. That to me is childish. That has no bearing on this at all. You can put, I'm not done. I agree that a time delay costs money. It looks like everything has been done properly. The time delay clearly is going to cost the applicant problems. And even though you say you've only been given a week's notice, if you are serious about objecting to this, I'd like to think that you would have concentrated and put together something a little bit more than a letter saying, oh, golly, we object. So my opinion is this thing should go ahead and we should go ahead and approve. And if you know, as a courtesy later, if you want to all talk about it between y'all, that's fine. But I don't see anything that I've been given here to make a hardship, to increase the hardship on the applicant.
Scott?
And by the way, the threat of your appeal has no bearing here.
Sir, I did recount an opinion that was rendered by the port wardens. It was rendered by the port wardens and it's part of public record.
That's an old case that has no bearing on this case.
It's the
Everything is
case.
independent.
I know, but it's the
Also-
case that's with
also-
the two adjoining owners.
Okay.
Also, this, I'm not sure when I'm allowed to speak, so I don't.
Yeah,
wanna-
let's finish with the
But-
port wardens. Let's finish Scott
Okay.
Anderson, please, and then I'm
I'm
gonna hit.
sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I certainly agree with Harold that to put it more hardship by postponing is not appropriate this time.
All right, and I, Gene, final, go ahead. Okay, I would say administratively, everything was done appropriately. So I think we probably have a duty to hear this. I don't think we need a motion to hear this at this point. I think we need to get into just basically allowing them to present. Is that correct, Carrie?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so
If-
let's, I think we move forward to letting Dan Dan Larian to present what they're requesting, so we can really learn it before we figure out where it fits in. And if we need to continue, so be it. But let's hopefully we don't. Let's listen to it. So Dan.
I'm Dan Larian, representing the Council of Co-Owners of Newport Condominium Association, Burnside Street, Spa Creek. You have to excuse me, I got a really bad cold. To replace an existing wood pier, finger piers, and mooring piles with a floating dock system. Main pier, 6 feet by 82 feet, with an 8 by 20 foot piece to the bulkhead, a T-head 6 by 30 feet, and a platform 24.5 feet by 16 feet. Install 6 finger piers, a 3 by 24, a 3 by 23, a 3 by 20.6, a 3 by 28, and a 3 by 27. Install a gangway 3 feet by 20 feet. Replace existing timber bulkhead 18 inches channelward and backfill with 107 cubic yards of clean fill and 33 cubic yards of gravel. Replace the boardwalk behind the bulkhead on land 5 by 103 feet. Replace one pile signboard and also replace one fixed finger pier 3 by 20. This is for case Port 2021-23. And by the way, we just got state approval from MDE yesterday, verbally. We should have it in writing very soon. And I'll send that to you all.
Okay. I have one question. I'm going to turn it over to the rest of Port Wardens after this. The one and only thing I see, and it could be the drawing, if you look at drawing number 5, which is actually page 12 of the package, if you look at it in the PDF, it looks like those floating docks are protruding over the setback lines.
They're not intended to. They're up to the setback line. They're not over it.
Okay, but if you look at where the red lines are going,
Robert.
if you zoom in.
Robert, what you're seeing is the guidelines for the dimensions.
Okay, all right. Okay. Where is the setback line?
The setback line is the
Red one.
red line, and then
Right.
5 feet over is the lateral line.
Right. But I'm seeing the corners of that 24, 23, and 20.6 protrude across the red. Am I
Well,
smoking?
again, it's not intended to be. If we
that's
have
the
to cut them
guideline.
all, if we have to cut those finger piers by a little bit, we will.
Okay,
Yeah, but that's the guideline for their dimensions.
okay,
The finger piers, like to the left of those guidelines, that it
Okay.
doesn't cross that dash line, which is the lateral line. And let me add that, so we're recommending approval because they fit within their developable waterway and the lateral
Okay.
line setbacks, but they're not showing the boats, and the boats aren't going to be allowed to pass those pilings because then they would cross the lateral line setback and even the lateral line specifically into the Burnside Street right of way. Because currently, as if you look at Google Earth, you got a quarter to a third of the boats protrude past those pilings. So, they just have to make sure that they can fit the boats within the slip area that they're proposing. And if so, we do recommend approval. But that should be
Okay.
a condition that they don't have the boats past those pilings.
okay. Harold, do you have any questions related to the,
No, no, I'm okay. Thank you.
all right? Scott?
I'm okay. I think I've heard what I need to hear almost, so.
Okay. Gene?
No, if we do approve it, I want to be sure, as Kevin mentions, that's
Yes.
conditioned upon the boats not extending beyond the pilings or into the water, crossing the lateral line. The setback, I'm sorry.
All right. Carrie, what would be more discussion, or do I call for a motion?
I think you need
But
to.
you have to do public testimony, so.
Okay,
Correct.
yeah,
There's-
okay, let's begin that. Let's, I guess, begin public testimony. So who wants to speak on this? I assume Gil?
I do as well.
Okay. Gil? You're muted.
There we go. Sorry. I just wanted to say that, as far as the decision by the Port Warden several years ago, the decision was against SAYC. It did not include us in that decision. And the reason was because they were going to put large boats that would interfere with the fairway. But what our situation is we've, after our waiting for Title 15, we have gone out of our way to make sure that we meet every specification. We have shrunken our T so that we can allow more boats to come in and out. As I've said, we've reduced the number of slips, reduced congestion, and increased safety. And by allowing us to have the angle slips, it will make navigation easier and safer. And we are not going an inch out of our envelope. As a matter of fact, on the right side, we are going inside a little bit. We're pulling those back.
Okay.
So, we're really trying to accommodate the city and the state to get this done. And again, any more postponing would injure our community.
Okay, all right, Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, I object to the plan for a number of reasons. The first one that I'll list is there are two piles that are outside of the lateral line that are left in place, but they were part of the old dockage, and they're on the northwest side of the property. And I think that those two piles were left because they intend to moor a boat in that space.
Are you referring to the piles that where the sign is mounted?
No, I'm talking about the northwest side. So it would be, if you're walking out on the dock, it would be to the left side beyond the lateral line. There, you'll see two circles there that say existing piles.
I got
Those
you.
two piles should be removed. Then I would also say the furthest northwest slip, Newport has tied up a boat there continuously, and it's beyond the lateral line. So there needs to be a condition that any boat that's tied up there does not go beyond their lateral line.
No.
But that would be true of all boats.
Right.
True of all boats,
I mean,
exactly
so if
right.
the condition, as I mentioned and as Kevin mentioned, is applied to the approval, then that would take care of that.
Right, yes. And then the big problem that I still have is that this was part of Circuit Court record, Anne Arundel County, petition of Newport Condominium Association for judicial review decisions of port wardens, City of Annapolis, and it lists the case. And it's item 34, where they talk about it doesn't matter whether the ingress and egress is easier. The fact of the matter is you could tie up a larger boat there, and that larger boat creates congestion, and that then leads to a navigational hazard. And we had 5 slips, so we also reduced slips on that side. Newport stated that we would place larger boats there. We went on record and said we wouldn't. We would pay attention to our slip size. And in the end, the port wardens decided that the lesser slips was not in the best interest, that they wanted us to maintain the slips as they existed. And now we find ourselves a couple years later with Newport doing exactly what we had planned to do prior. And it was decided through legal opinion that that would be denied. And I don't know where there's equality here and how this is being viewed.
Right. But if I may, besides the fact that it's not relevant to what we're doing right now.
Well, it is relevant.
We are not, anybody can put a bigger boat in a slip and go over a line. That is one of the reasons why we shrunk the T down so that we could put a boat in that slip and not be over the lateral line. And as far as the previous case, we did not want to have the original SAYC drawings showed boats as long as 32 feet with out drives and bow pulpits, and which would have put them out into the fairway and made it a hazard, a navigating hazard. And we have no intention of doing that to our neighbors. And the reason the boats are where they are, Brett's boats are in there, is because those are the right size boats for those slips. I'm looking out my window, I can see those slips. We're okay with the boats that he has in there now. And, but I'm not sure what all of that other, material has to do with what we're talking about, what we're trying to build.
Well, it has everything to do with it, because what you just stated is exactly what we stated when our case was heard. that we were going to put the proper size boats in there. Clearly, somebody can put any size boat in a slip as long as the slip is wide enough.
Yes.
We said the exact same things, and the port wardens decided that it wasn't in the best interest. If they kept the slips perpendicular, it would therefore limit that and curtail that. We had reduced, we'd gone from 9 to 5. So this is the exact same case. I'm not making this up. This is part of public record. And I would say that if that was viewed at that point in time, and that was the decision that was reached, and the same decision should be reached here.
Well,
It's the exact
Brett,
same case we made, all verbatim.
no, it's not, Brett. We are not.
So
the same
you all
case.
stated
are
we would
not
put a
putting
larger
in-
boat
Well,
in.
you
I didn't
all,
state
Brett, hold on a second. I wasn't here, so the you all may not apply. Harold wasn't here during that SAYC thing. So I would have to look at those things, and I will look at those things. But I'm, you know, just don't, you've got to understand that we're doing the administrative portion of this application coming in at this phase, okay?
Mhm.
Sir, I understand that, and I do respect that. All I've asked for tonight was enough time to investigate this, to see if we could reach a mutual understanding. I started out that way.
Right, no,
All
and
right.
that's worked out very well. We just had something last month that worked out incredibly well by
Right.
neighbors actually talking to each other and figuring things out before it came in front of us. But I'm gonna have, I guess, I sort of want to, I guess what we should do is actually close up this portion, have one more round of any other questions from the existing port wardens of anybody. And then let's move to, you know, to the public hearing being closed. Carrie, am I right with that direction?
Yes, well, so you have two options here. You can close the public hearing and the port wardens after any additional questions. And if there's any other public testimony, I don't know if there's anyone else that wants to testify. If you close the public hearing, then you deliberate and then you make a decision on the application. If you had just stated to Brett that you would look into a previous court filing, I don't know if you meant that as a means of you intend to maybe postpone or continue the public hearing to the next meeting so as to allow that opinion to be reviewed, that opinion to potentially be entered into the record, and then deliberations and decisions to be made next month. That's basically what the port wardens wants to do next is going to dictate what motion needs to be made next and what the next step in the process. I don't know what the sort of the intent of the port wardens is at this point in terms of proceeding on this application.
Okay. Harold,
You know, let me make one comment and then maybe the motion. Taking into what was said by Brett here, and it sounds like the discussion had to do with size of boats into the slips. Okay, if a boat is larger than should be, then a complaint can be made to the local police, port authority to deal with that situation. That has nothing to do with what they are applying for here. If you try to put a boat in larger than is allowed, that's a police action. That's separate than what we're going to need to discuss here. Based on that, I don't know if it's okay at this point. I'd like to make a motion that we consider the application and vote on it.
okay, do
Consider
we
or
have,
approve. Harold, I didn't quite get, is your motion that we approve the application?
My motion is that we approve the application.
Gary?
I was just gonna say if that first it needs to be seconded, but if that is the will of the port wardens, that you do sort of have to deliberate and go through the criteria of the city code and make sure that the application meets that criteria. Don't just jump straight to approval,
Sure.
just so that the record is clear.
I'd like to put the
Okay.
motion on the table.
All right,
Mr.
There's a
Chairman,
motion on-
can I ask one question of,
Sure.
of Mr. Anderson.
Yes, sir.
You said that you wanted discussion about some issues and to meet with the applicant. And that was before this hearing. If this board were to approve this, condition upon no boats extending beyond the pier or longer than the piers, or extending beyond the outermost piling or into the lateral lines, would that take care of your major objections?
Well,
I mean, I haven't heard
sir,
any other objections, so
right, well.
other than we didn't approve yours, and I was here at the time, which
Right,
was the whole complex of events and facts. You can't just say these facts are your facts.
no,
But I'll stick with my question. Would that satisfy your concerns?
well, I have a question that would need to be answered with that, and that is that the first statement that I'd like to make is that all of this is part of public testimony that can easily be researched and presented.
It doesn't, I don't need that because I was here. So what else do you want to say?
Right, so we were denied. We were denied for this very same reason. So if by approving Newport, does that allow us to come back for the same thing, diagonal slips that we had previously applied for and then were denied?
I don't think you're ever prohibited from coming back. You may not be approved, but nothing prohibits you from applying over and over and over again. But to me, that's irrelevant. What I'm hearing you say, you've answered the questions I need to answer, and I'm ready for board deliberation. I'll have some comments.
I got some though.
Okay. Or do we
My
have any?
comments would be the issues that we seem to be confronted would be handled with a condition on the application. I am unpersuaded by, you didn't approve me, so I don't want you to approve anyone else or someone else. Facts, all applications are fact specific. And as I recall, SAYC had a whole panoply of facts, but that's almost irrelevant. As Harold said, it certainly is precedent and you need to have some consistency, but I don't view that application as a direct parallel to this one. And if it is, we have Newport Wardens, new decisions. So I think we've dealt with what concerns I've heard. I don't see any harm or any allegation that would be a harm to navigation, doesn't harm the environment, meets all the other criteria. So while I was initially prone, because I thought there would be more complexity than has been presented, prone to postpone, I'm now more amenable to doing otherwise because I see no concerns about it not adhering to the code, and the staff recommendation seems to be appropriate.
Well, my follow-up to that,
Wait a
sir,
minute, are you a port warden? I'm sorry, the port wardens are under deliberation for a motion here.
Yeah, Robert, I think you need to just close the public hearing. And then
right, you had asked me a question. I thought we were
Yeah,
discussing it.
okay.
I apologize.
Right. I think we have discussed this in length. At this point, we're going to declare the public hearing for 2021-23 closed. So now, and Gene really began the deliberations. So, it does meet the code, as Gene said. There are no harbor line issues. There are no, setback issues, environmental issues. So, of the 12 sort of guidelines we always look at, they're all within that. So I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny the application Yes.
I'd like to second Harold's we need a second, so I'll second Harold's motion.
All right, and do we want to add that condition of no boats shall protrude, like, or they, I mean, they should be
Yes.
anyway.
I
I'd like
don't,
us
I don't,
to conditionalize it with those concerns of it, boats exceeding the pilings at the end.
Okay,
I-
Harold.
I don't know if we need to do that. That's automatic. A boat can't go past its designated lateral line anyways. If
No,
it
no,
does, then that once again is a separate issue. If somebody has a complaint that a boat is too long, they can take it up with the police authorities. That's not something I think that needs to be stated, because it's by definition there.
Right, Gene, you had a comment.
Well, there is at least one pier that is short of the lateral line. So I would prefer having it generic, so you control the size of the boats, because that pier would require navigable entrance into there, and a boat larger than that pier could be a hazard to navigation. So I would prefer having that stipulation, Harold, but it's your motion.
And
Um,
Robert, if you indulge me to interrupt, along the Burnside right of way, which is a public access point, I think it would add clarity so that when the harbor master has to come out here and to enforce it, it's in writing on this finding that it will help her with enforcement.
Okay, and so do I need Harold to add that add-on to his motion?
Why don't you just restate the motion, and I can say it right now and someone can just sort of parrot what I'm saying. It sounds like the motion is intended to say to approve the application on the condition that boats or vessels will not extend beyond the lateral line point. And so someone just needs to make that motion. Someone needs to second it. You guys can have further deliberation.
I'll make that motion
I
then.
don't know if there's deliberation. Okay.
I think it's irrelevant, but I'll make the motion if it,
Okay,
makes others comfortable.
okay, Harold, can you make the motion with the language? Needs to be on the record.
I make a motion that we approve the application with the, how do we say it? With the notation that the boats shall not, that docking boats shall not exceed past the lateral lines.
Second,
Oh, wait, Scott had a, but,
I was trying to second that.
okay, great. All right, so I guess we'll give the second to Gene. He beat you to the mute. So at this point, the motion passes.
No, you have to vote.
we
Oh,
need to.
I have to, sorry, this is my second meeting for anybody who
You're
doesn't know
you're
that.
doing fine. If there's
Okay.
any further discussion or deliberation that needs to take place, have that discussion deliberations now, and then you can take it to a vote.
Okay, is there any other discussion that needs to take place? Okay, then let's take it to a vote. All those in favor of the motion? Do I have to speak? Okay, it's an aye. All right, the next application is Port 2022-24 Eastport
Thank you.
Yachting Center. Thank you guys very much.
Chairman Shapiro, I need to recuse myself from the next case.
Okay, we still have a quorum. Thank you, Scott. We still have a quorum. Do we need to have him state the reason, or no? He's recusing himself and that's fine.
There's a conflict of interest possibly.
If for purposes of clarity in the record, you can state what that potential conflict of interest is. Since Gene is here and Robert and Harold, you have a quorum, so you can proceed, but you may just want to state for purposes of clarity what.
For purpose of clarity, I'm recusing myself because I've run the business that is, help run the business that is on behalf, is a tenant there. I'm a tenant there professionally.
Okay, all right, we have a quorum. Thank you, Gene, so much for showing up. So we are good to move forward with it. Can we allow in anyone who is going to speak, or let's have them brought forward. we need to make sure we see your faces when we do the swearing, please. And so I have Dan Roche, Chris Nolker, and Dave M. I'm reading it from the, obviously, the login. Is
Sure.
that all that will be speaking? All right. Can you please hold up, anyone planning to testify, raise your right hand. Okay. You do solemnly swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give to the Port Wardens is the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay, both, all Dan, Chris, Dave M, and actually both parties on the Dave M video did it. So as a preliminary matter, the board will accept into record the application packet, the staff report from planning and zoning, and any public comments. Kevin, are there any existing public comments?
There are no public comments. There is one member of the public who's from J-Port here to testify.
Okay. Carrie, do I need to swear him in at this point if they're going to testify, or wait until we get to public comment?
You just did that.
I think, yeah, you just
Oh.
swore him in.
Okay, he's already here. Okay, fantastic. Port Wardens, Port Wardens, I guess let's have, who is presenting this for us? Chris?
I'll present it.
Okay, great. All right, Chris, can you walk us through? It looks pretty, let's have you walk us through what's going to happen, and then we'll move from there.
Yep. I'm Chris Nolker. I work for Scott Milkey at Waterfront Engineering Design and Construction, and we were hired by the client to put together the plans and the permit application. The permit application is Port 2022-024 for Eastport Yachting Center at 211 Eastern Avenue. And the proposed project is to replace in kind a 200 linear foot bulkhead and replace in kind a 4 foot by 168 foot timber walkway.
Okay. It looks like you're replacing in kind.
Yes.
effectively? Okay, all right. I don't see anything of our 12 obligations. It's obviously not protruding out into the water. It's obviously not an environmental issue. It's obviously done, it's recommended by the city. So I guess let's move to the next phase. Any of the fellow Port Wardens have questions?
Is there any public testimony? Did you get to that part?
I did not. I do apologize.
You're good.
Ask any questions? Do any of the, well, it moves right to, I have public after the Port Wardens on my wonderful helping order. We can certainly do the do we have any public comments? Let's move with that.
I guess I probably should have articulated it better. If there's anyone else, but since there were 4 individuals that raised their hand saying that they were going to testify, I anticipated more testimony coming in. So it was more of a making sure everyone who wants to testify is given that opportunity.
All right. Does anyone additional, I assume so, because you're here, want to testify about this?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. So questions from any Port Wardens? Of Chris or any?
No.
Okay, all right, so I guess we can move to deliberations, but with no questions. I assume there are none, but I don't want to assume. Are there any? Do
We close the public hearing and then move to deliberations.
Okay,
Yeah, just for the record, I made myself available to answer any questions, so I don't have any testimony either. Just trying to be here to be supportive if needed.
okay, all right. So is there anyone from the public here to make any testimony? All right.
Okay, so now you just need to declare the public hearing closed and then
Okay,
go.
I declare the public hearing for Port 2022-24 closed. I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny the application in Port 2022-24. Is there a second?
For the sake of satisfying the record in terms of deliberations, I have no questions regarding the environmental impact, the navigational impact, or any further impact according to the code, and it seems fairly routine to me.
Okay, I agree with you. I thought I had said that in the prior, but
I just occasionally, in case of appeal, I just want to be sure there's a record that there were some deliberations and we thought about it.
okay, all right. I'll take that, and we did in fact think of it, and we covered all those topics. Thank you very much. So I guess I'll entertain the motion to approve or deny the application.
Motion to approve.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Scott, I got mute and no video, so I can't see anything.
Scott's recused.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. So in that case, the motion passes. Thank you all very much. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
Yes. I would
All right,
like
there
to
be-
express my appreciation for your chairmanship, and you're doing a great job.
Here, here.
Yeah, it's gonna take me 3 or 4 to get this little dance down. All right, there being no other items on the agenda, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move
There-
adjourned.
All right, the second by Scott. All right, all in favor of the motion to adjourn?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you guys very much.